All right, RMAX secondary, we got on the bench. We got Kyle here. He's going to show us, this is our compressor.
Yep, compressor's on there for the spring. One important thing if you're using this compressor or if you're using a shop press, this collar holding the spring does bottom out. So you could over tighten this and you can actually crush this collar down. We've run into this before, we've seen it starts to add preload to the spring. You start getting poor shifting, poor performance, poor everything. So it's critical to just tighten this and put just enough pressure to hold the cap. And then when you break the nut loose, you'll be able to just spin it up.
So we already got the nut loose before we put the puller on there,
Yeah.
or compressor on there, and then we just loosen it right now all the way.
Yep, broke it loose, put the compressor on, take the nut loose here, and then we can back the nut up and we'll pull the spring off.
Okay. So component-wise here, we have the nut and then a collar and then a spring, so pretty basic.
Pretty basic, yeah, and the two sheave halves we've got on there. So this is what's important here.
So if you push too hard, it'll basically blow
right,
it.
so it sits flush on this lip down here, so you can actually press this down and mushroom it over that collar. So that's what you got to watch out for. You don't want to over tighten it.
Don't tighten it too tight.
Yeah. Once you got the spring and the collar off, if you're servicing the secondary, you're going to want to pull the spring cup off. You want to check the inside of the spring cup for any grooving or anything that might be keeping it from binding and shifting and opening it up cleanly. So now that we got the collar off, the sheave opens and closes by riding on these grooves and the pins. So it will actually open all the way up at full shift there. So you see it moves the grease here. When the cup is on, it's going to move it inside these channels.
Constantly moving, huh?
Yeah. So that over time, and you can see even with really low miles in this machine, it's already started to discolor the grease. It's starting to get some heat build up in there.
Where would you see, like what would you see if it was worn out or bad? Right here.
So if we've got worn out components, we'll either see them in the back side of the spring cups. You'll see them grooved in there. You might see grooves inside of these channels where it won't smoothly open and close if it gets hung up on any ridges. Those would be the two main ones in the secondary. But we can pop that apart too. We'll pull these pins out of each
Oh, you just use the magnet and pop them
of
out?
these options, a small magnet, and then they're just recessed. There's just a little pocket inside there for them to sit in. And then you can actually pull the two halves apart. And so you'll want to do that because you want to clean out really a lot of the gunk and the garbage that builds up inside behind the pins too. So it's a bit of a messy job, but this one's really, really important to get done. Otherwise that grease hardens up and that's when you start seeing all the other issues arise.
So this one's pretty new, so everything looks probably really good on it, but at this point you'd basically, if it looked good, you would just clean it up. And then what grease do you use? The Tink Seal?
We use the Tink Seal grease. You can use the Ultramatic as well from Yamaha.
Okay. And where would you put grease? Just on that sliding sheet part?
So once this is all cleaned out, we'll re-grease the inside and then reinstall. Place your pins back inside. And then right here in these channels, you're going to want to get the grease in here.
Basically like fill it up?
Yeah, more or less you're going to want quite a bit in there, maybe not quite. You take your finger and wipe it flush.
Okay.
And then the spring cup goes back on.
That's going to seal everything up, yeah?
Yeah, you've got the O-rings top and bottom, so that'll seal everything up. Wipe, if you've got any excess grease, you want to wipe that all clean so it doesn't fly out, get on the belt, the sheave faces, and then just reverse your spring for the install.
Cool. And this is the time where we do have a secondary spring in some of our kits, so you would put that spring on and switch it out and put it back together.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks, Kyle.
Yep.